we conducted a series of traction tests in a controlled environment using Subaru vehicles versus their direct competitors. Our tests were run on a set of incline ramps that incorporated 4 sets of rollers, one at each tire position. Each set of rollers can be locked in place to provide the traction of dry pavement, or released to freewheel, simulating a very low friction surface. Most of us would associate this with icy or snowy conditions, but all-wheel drive can also have significant benefits in warmer climates. Think wet Georgia clay or California road after a rainstorm. We'll begin with the current generation Forester, featuring our most popular system, active all-wheel drive. The first test has the front 2 rollers locked and the rear freewheeling, simulating a very slippery surface. That looked easy. However, each subsequent test is more difficult. The Forester eases down the ramps and we set up for the next challenge. Here, the rollers on the driver's side are locked, offering plenty of traction, while the rollers on the passenger side simulate driving on oil-slick pavement. You can see the passenger side tires initially spin while power is transferred to the driver's side. The Forester reverses again, and now we set the driver's side rollers to freewheel while the passenger side rollers are locked. You can see the same transfer of power as the Forester climbs the ramps. With Forester repositioned, we attempt the 4th test, which is a diagonal setup. The rollers under the driver's side front and passenger side rear are locked for maximum traction. The other diagonal set of rollers freewheel, offering no traction at all. You can clearly see the power transfer from the wheels that slip to the wheels that have grip. 2 more tests remain, both of these with just 1 tire as the only source of traction. In other words, it's like driving with 3 wheels on wet clay. First, the only tire that can provide traction is the passenger front tire. Look carefully how all 4 tires react though, and with just some initial wheel spin, the Forester climbs the ramps again. To see if there's any front-to-rear bias in the Forester all-wheel drive system, the last test has 3 tires on simulated wet clay again. But this time, only the passenger side rear tire can provide any forward movement. And the Forester again climbs up the ramp, setting the benchmark for other vehicles to follow. Before we leave Forester, here's how it performs with X mode engaged. Look closely at the right front wheel. You can clearly see the action of vehicle dynamics control. VDC works seamlessly with symmetrical all-wheel drive to help control wheel spin at each individual wheel. Now let's see how a direct competitor, the 2019 Honda CR-V, handles these tests. Keep in mind that all of these vehicles are new and dealer prepped, with standard OEM tires, just like a consumer would buy them. The Honda performs fine in the first few tests, so we'll skip ahead to the diagonal test. Here, you see quite a bit of wheel spin until the CR-V transfers power to the opposite diagonal tires. Keep in mind that the driver is trying to maintain constant pressure on the accelerator while the all-wheel drive system and traction control work to gain momentum. The last 2 tests are the hardest. First, with just the passenger side front tire doing all the work. Notice the torque steer, that side-to-side motion. And to the CR-V's credit, however, it is able to climb the ramp. You would assume that the Honda would perform the same way in the last test, now with just a single rear tire with traction. But that's not the case. You can see significant torque steer as the driver tries to keep the car in a straight line, and the CR-V cannot climb the ramp. We assume Honda's all-wheel drive system cannot transfer enough power to that one rear tire so the CR-V can move forward.